I have a strange affection for South Park. Not like, oh yeah, the crude humor and vulgarity is right up my alley affection, even though it certainly is, but more like a fascination with the way it portrays the world. South Park started in 1997, and I was 3 years old. I remember trying to watch it when I was like 5 because it looked like any other cartoon, but really, it's not like I got any of the jokes anyways. Then I played the South Park racing game, South Park Rally I think it was, but I didn't really start watching South Park till I was a teenager. More or less anyways. Like I said, I was always fascinated with the way South Park writers Matt Stone and Trey Parker could take any situation and just crank it to 11. Or in some cases 20. That's basically what the Fractured Butthole is. It's a mockery of 2017 and the way people live their lives, then crank that tenfold and you have the game. Every time a movie or TV series gets a game, I cringe. Let's be honest, it rarely hits the mark, and South Park was in that category early on. A series of failed N64 and Windows games really left a lot to be desired. That is, until the Stick of Truth. In 2014, the Stick of Truth was released, almost portrayed as a new season of South Park, and the game took off immediately. It was just like watching the show, but while playing it in a video game. The humor, the absurdity, the plot twists came together perfectly in a medieval times like RPG. Could they replicate the magic once again in the Fractured Butthole? Let's find out. Okay, let's get something out of the way right now. If you're a younger viewer, then I'm gonna recommend not watching the rest of this video. But this is 2017 and I can't tell you what to watch, so this is my CYA moment. Thank you. The Fractured Butthole takes place right after the events of the Stick of Truth. After Cartman decides he's done with knights and elves and Jews, he appears as the Coon, convincing everyone to switch over to playing superheroes instead.
Their superhero franchise more popular? Fuck the Freedom Pals, dude. That's right.
Cartman takes the new kid under his wing and provides him with a backstory that would shatter any kid's soul.
All superheroes have a compelling backstory. It's from that backstory that their powers gain meaning. Let's take you back to when you were just a child.
Before revealing his plan to save a lost cat, gain a $100 reward, and kickstart his Coon and Friends mega franchise. It's the classic Marvel vs. DC franchise battle, but with the stupidity of the battle emphasized to the max. Obviously in South Park fashion, the driving force of most of the game is gaining followers to show you're part of the better franchise, but that's far from the main goal of the story. Sort of. The story lives up to everything you have come to expect from South Park. You have controversial characters, over-the-top crude humor, some of the funniest lines you will ever see in games or TV shows, and it is all brought together beautifully. The story did take a while to get going. I always knew the game could not be entirely centered around finding a cat, but the longer I played, the longer I was waiting to hit that point where you're like, okay, now we're working with something. It doesn't have to be the big reveal of the end game, but sort of the thing that kicks the story into overdrive. Kinda the hook moment. The story hits all of the most absurd stories and trends in 2017. Instagram fame, social justice warriors, racial and gender equality, and it gives it the over-the-top South Park humor that we know and love. Along with that, it has a nice touch of history of South Park, keeping continuity through the Stick of Truth and beyond, along with the random items and scenes that are clear homages to the South Park past. Every main character in South Park is present and accounted for, each with a unique role to play. I was a bit worried that having every character play a role in the story would make it too cluttered, but it's not even close. The role of the supporting characters are simple, but each have their own mini backstory to be discovered. I wish I could go into the entire story, but I would hate to spoil the hilarity of the game, so we're gonna move on. The Fractured Butthole is a superhero-based RPG game. You start with your superhero class and backstory while fighting crime and defending South Park. I just want to note this, the difficulty bar is a skin tone slider. If that's not an indication of things to come, then I don't know what will be. Unlike the Stick of Truth's traditional RPG system, the Fractured Butthole is based on a battle grid. You move characters around the grid, and different attacks that you have different ranges and effects. You also have 4 people in your party for the majority of the game instead of 2. The strategy is much more apparent in this iteration. You can position your characters in ways to avoid taking damage, along with trying to make sure you have a wide array of characters to cover the entire battlefield. It can take a bit of time to get used to, as being right beside any enemy and not being able to hit him can be annoying and lengthen the battle, but the pain goes away very quickly. Outside of battle, you get to travel the town of South Park, using your superhero abilities and the buddy's superhero abilities to solve puzzles. Powers like shoving a hamster up your butt and then farting him out, or using your farts to pause time, you have a number of creative techniques, and frankly, they make you shake your head most of the time. Instead of having clothing provide you with stat bonuses, you unlock DNA slots with each level up. Adding artifacts to the slots will increase your superhero power level. You also have a crafting system in the game. It's certainly nothing dramatic, but you can find recipes throughout the game, and using the items and materials you pick up, you can craft healing items and or new costumes and artifacts. A different part of the game is taking selfies. Now, I hate selfies. I don't look good in them, I think they're stupid, I don't understand them. But, that being said, it kind of works in this game. Your goal in the game is getting as many followers as you can for your franchise, so every time you take a selfie, you gain a follower on Coonstagram. The amount of strange detail that went into Coonstagram, I'm not gonna lie, kinda creepy. It is also kinda funny though. Taking a selfie with a stripper or someone at an abortion clinic, although way over the top, I find it hilarious and so South Park. The game does not have a ton of mechanics, but everything is designed well and everything is built around those mechanics, so it works. Ignoring the love that I have for the cardboard-like characters that South Park used to look like, this is a heavily stylized game. The game uses the childlike innocence that a 10-year-old should have, using your iPad as your pause interface, using the apps as menus, a Rubik's Cube that can destroy the world supposedly, and the most 2017 thing you're gonna ever hear me say, a mucho supremo loco taco. Oh, that's a handful. All of the superhero characters are creative, but not in that, wow, that's really unique. More in the way of, hey, there's Tupperware and I'll stick it on my head. Or, I have a power drill, now I'm a superhero, woo! It's this sort of creativity that only a child could believe, and yet it works so well with the entire style of the game. The best part of this game, and South Park in general frankly, is the writing. And oh, is this writing something else. I'm not even gonna bother describing it, just roll the clip, Lyle.
You were right about the Italian restaurant, new kid. The owner is a part of a new crime syndicate.
Who the fuck is that?
I have no idea.
Well, she's not in the union. Excuse me, are you on Coonstagram?
Okay, that's this little Asian freak named Yakibaba or some shit like that. He going around paying all these little 6th graders to take people's cash. That's fucked up. I think taking that pussy and like taking mine, you know what I'm saying? That's like criminal shit.
Prepare to meet your end, coon friends.
That does it. This asshole dies now.
Cartman is one of my favorite characters of all time, and this game embodies everything that I love about him. The insanity, the twistedness, the evilness that child has. Oh, it's just so perfect. Yes, I'm a little bit sadistic too, I know. Thank you. You are looking at what will probably amount to a 10 to 15 hour game, which as short as that may seem by RPG standards, is perfect for this game. It's incredibly hard to keep a story with this sort of humor, this laugh out loud enjoyability, up for 40 plus hours. It's pretty much impossible. There are some side quests, not a bunch, and a character sheet you need to fill out, including your religion, your race, your sexuality, everything else that you could possibly imagine. And on top of that, you've got a bunch of little objectives you can complete to gain XP. But other than that, it's a pretty straightforward adventure. South Park: The Fractured But Whole lives up to everything that the Stick of Truth started. It filled the role of an entire South Park movie with the fun of a classic RPG game, all tied together in a 15-hour game. If you like comedy, vulgarity, and superheroes, then this game could not be more perfect for you if you tried. Do you like comedy, vulgarity, and the sound of 3 supposed adults yelling? Then check out the latest Cuphead episode where we play Cuphead on Expert Mode, A Tale of 3 Idiots. Talking videos are hard. Like me.